play Journey, which hypothetically may be Keelon Russell's favorite group. Can you put that off to the side just for a couple of minutes? Because I think the guy that we're about to feature, he likes a little something heavier, just a little bit of something. Give him a little bit better walk-up music, Jackson, if you don't mind. Oh, this is good. This is good. This is all of us in the 80s. This was in the Cool Kids Club. We go to the offensive coordinator for the University of Alabama, Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Does that music get you fired up a little bit? I mean, a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely does. Absolutely does.
All right, so do you have a pregame ritual? I mean, because, like when you're walking through the game, like for Thunderstruck here in Tuscaloosa, that kind of gets all of us excited. It gets the Bryant Denny Stadium rocking. But, I mean, do you have a couple of songs in your headphones that kind of get you going a little bit?
Well, that is one of them right there, Seek and Destroy by Metallica. That is definitely one of them. Every stadium for the last quite a few years now, that I roll up to, that's the last song I listen to when the bus is pulling up. So just gets the mind right and gets ready to go.
Hey, well, we had Greg Byrne on yesterday. He told us that Metallica is one of his favorite bands. He was over in Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago seeing him. I'm not sure if you talked to the athletic director about that, but he's a big Metallica guy.
I did not know. I would not have guessed that. I would not have guessed that.
He told us this yesterday. He was in the snake pit, believe it or not. He was in the pit listening to Metallica, and I'm going, he goes, it was a little bit like reading glasses. He said, not as much as when I first saw him when I was 18 or 19, but yeah, Greg Burns said that. Coach, is your family getting settled in here in Tuscaloosa? Are you enjoying this climate, enjoying the atmosphere in T-Town?
Yeah, they're doing great. They actually moved in the night before A-Day. So they've been here for a little bit. My daughter was able to get in school for a little while and get acclimated, make some friends and all that. But no, it's been awesome. My whole family came down over Memorial Day weekend, got to see everything, and so no, it's been awesome.
Well, it's good to have you guys in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I feel like that, I've literally said Ryan Grubb for like 3 years. Coach Saban interviewed you. I thought, man, here we go. And then, now we get a chance to experience this. I want to go back to a word that I think is a theme of your offense. I heard it when Keelon Russell was introduced. He used the word aggressive, talking about what he wants to do. The first time you were interviewed here at Alabama in the spring, you used the word aggressive to describe your play calling. Can you elaborate on that word?
Well, I think that, there's kind of two ways to go about it. You obviously have to be respectful of any team that you're on and the situation you're in offensively. The type of defense you have, controlling the football at the right times and things like that. But without question, we want people to pop our film on every week and look at it and know that they're going to have to defend every inch of the field and that the ball at some point is going to get down that field. And that is something that we've been able to do for quite a few years at a lot of different stops and making sure that our receivers and the type of players that we have can match that. And we certainly have that at Alabama. So, it's not a stretch to say that we're going to be able to work some of those same thoughts and concepts. But that really is something that we want to make sure that it's not just talk. It's when people put our film on, they look at it and they see what we're doing, that they know they're going to have to take care of the back end there with the DBs and have a little bit of nervous energy back there. And I do think that there's a lot that plays into that too in the run game. That the more you can do that, the more successful obviously you can be getting the ball down the field. The better your run game is. The more times you can get them in two high safety looks and be able to run the ball, you're probably going to be pretty excited about that. I mean, even back in 23, obviously Michael had an incredible year for us, Penix at Washington, but our running back, Dylan Johnson, also ran for like 1,200 yards and 16 touchdowns, and so certainly was nothing to blink at.
Well, and you actually just took one of my questions away, because I was going to ask you about your philosophical approach to the running the football, because Alabama fans, they love to air it out. They love to be able to score points, but they also love to be able to pound the rock a little bit too.
There's no doubt. I think the physical style play it takes to win championships in the SEC, you certainly have to have a presence, obviously with the offensive line, but just also the type of runners that they've had over the years here at Alabama. And And there's a presence that you can bring just there, just the explosiveness of being able to run the ball and control line of scrimmage. I think that that's a whole nother, element that we're really excited about. And I certainly think we have some offensive linemen here that can bring that same type of energy. So we certainly are looking to expand on that and make it even better.
I want to eliminate the names because we all know that this is a quarterback competition, and we'll dive into that maybe at the back end of the interview. But I want to ask you, just describe the quarterback that you're looking for in your system. And I know every great offensive coordinator adjusts to the personnel that he has, but what does it take to be a quarterback in Ryan Grubb and Keelon Russell's system?
Well, I think the first thing is just elite decision maker. And, you obviously got to have all the physical attributes that the ball can spread to the right place on the field, but decision making, command, and leadership are non-negotiables. Those are things that every great quarterback is going to have, and there's things that we talk about quite a bit that, the best guys, the quarterbacks that you want to have, is they make everybody in the facility better. When they walk in, everybody's doing better. So from the defensive guys to coaching staff to the players on offense, just they're trying to really that not charisma, but just work ethic and how they approach their days, and everybody looks at them with the same approach. And then the other word I would say is just consistency. I think it's really hard to have an elite offense and an elite football team, championship level team, when you don't have a guy that's the same guy showing up every day. And that's one of the things we talk about quite a bit in the quarterback room, is just being the same guy every day, so your teammates know what to expect, and that you're going to push them. You're also going to support them, but it's the same, so that you don't show up one day and the guy's like, well, he was on one today, and then the next day you're not the same. I think there's a lot of value in that.
We are talking right now to the offensive coordinator for the University of Alabama, Ryan Grubb, here visiting with us live. When you think about Nick Sheridan helping you groom those quarterbacks in the midst of a competition, how important is that, where one guy can help you on those fundamentals? Obviously, the play calling and responsibility falls on your shoulders as many others, but how important is it to have a guy like Nick Sheridan that can help groom those quarterbacks?
Oh, Nick's the best, and I mean that. Before Alabama, the communication we'd have and the understanding that Nick's had for the quarterback position itself, recruiting the right kind of guys. He's got a great eye for talent. And I think there's a piece there too where, the type of players that we look for and then the things that we're looking for quarterbacks to do and be better at, they both match up. And so when you have the same line of thinking, it's easy to finish each other's sentences. You're like, hey, this guy's still working on this, and knowledge of the system too, right? Nick has knowledge of the system. He's been in it from all the way back to Indiana when him and Keelon were together, and then obviously our time in Washington. So there's a level of expectations that are being met, and it frees me up to be able to focus on other things when I need to. Obviously, I'm in the QB room every day with them for at least part of the time, and that QB play caller relationship is vital. And so for me right now, I think just the things that the ground you're able to cover with the guys is incredible, and that's the part that the freedom I can have within the system and within the building just to go about my day. It's really, really important. It's been a blessing.
Coach, Monday after A-Day, you came in and kind of dropped, all of us were sitting on the edge of our seat waiting for maybe a little bit of a declaration, and you gave us that. You said if they were playing this Saturday, that Ty Simpson would be your guy. If Alabama plays this Saturday, is Ty Simpson the guy?
He is. He is right now, and we don't really deal in absolutes till we have to.
Sure.
But I was trying to answer that as honestly as I could, that, I knew that people were looking for direction and shoot, so are the guys in the room. And so those were not surprising things. Those are things that we had already talked about with the guys. We'd had our post-spring evaluations done with the guys. Ty took care of the football better. He operated better. And I thought he improved for an older quarterback. And I know young to playing or starting experience, but as an older guy, I thought he, especially towards the latter part of the spring, he really started to show more of those characteristics. So, but we're still going to let him compete. We still are right now, and we will again in fall camp. And, I've told this story a couple times, but in 22 when I got there, we didn't have, obviously Mike Penix wasn't there yet. We had two quarterbacks in the room, and one was an incumbent starter, another was a 5-star freshman quarterback. And I told him I was going to bring a quarterback in, that we had to have competition. And, the number one thing in the quarterback room is you got to have, that should be the most competitive room on the football team. And if it's not, you probably don't have the right guys in there. And I think for years, far before I was here, Alabama's done that. Brought in a lot of really good quarterbacks, let them compete and develop, let the best guy win the job, and move on from there. And we're no different. That's what we're trying to do, is develop every one of those guys. And in 22, when we got done with spring ball, we didn't name a starter. It was very similar, and we went into the summer with no starter, and we got into fall camp, and then, Michael won the job and kind of ran away with it from there, obviously. But I feel like we're in the same spot. The guys got to keep competing through the summer and fall camp, and we'll let the cards lay where they may. And, typically these things have a way of sorting themselves out just by production and performance. And we'll track every part of that with the guys, and very upfront in our communication with the guys as far as where they're at and, what we like and don't like. And we try to give that feedback daily to the guys.
If there's one thing that jumps out to me about Keelon DeBoer's system is the authentic relationships. When you talk to the players, the authentic relationships. Last week I was on the air when we got the tragedy that Keelon Russell's sister had passed away. And it was hard to even present. I mean, it was hard for me to even get out of my mouth. How have you seen the team wrap their arms around Russell?
Oh, wow. Almost get emotional talking about that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's hard to even ask that question, to be honest with you.
No. And I know Keelon knows that he's obviously in the public eye. And, a couple of days had passed after Kirsten had passed, and he came back out to a walkthrough, and we're on the field, and we got done, and I didn't say much, but I just said, "Hey, Key, come in here. We want you to break it down." And just like seeing the guys interact with him, and just let him know that they love him, and support him as just a guy. And we certainly talk about person greater than player, and that's being challenged right now, to make sure that those things are real within the program and the culture of the locker room. So, and everything I've seen and the support that he's had already, I don't think you can't give enough support for a situation like that. And Keelon is a very, very strong young man, and just his ability to handle this has been, humbling to see, honestly. But the guys have been there at every turn, and not surprised either. Like, one of the things I noticed when I got back here was just how fast the culture was heading the right direction, and the type of people that were in this building, the kids that we have here are second to none.
Yeah, and I'd like for you to talk about Russell as far as a skill set. And I know we've already talked about Ty Simpson. I don't feel like we should leave Austin Mack out either, but there's a lot of excitement about the future, with Russell, what he was able to do last summer, the Elite 11, the Rivals MVP. I mean, certainly, Rivals considered him as the number one recruit in the entire country. What do you see in his skill set?
Well, Keelon has elite vision. I'll start there, and because I think it always starts there. When you go out on a field and you're at a 7-on-7 tournament, you're watching quarterbacks, you're looking for guys that, how fast are they finding a movement indicator, how fast are they seeing a coverage change, and how fast is the ball coming out of their hand. Like, decision to ball out of their hand, and how clean they just see everything. They can put it together, and Keelon has a very innate ability to do that. And I would suspect he's been able to do that for a long time, and, kind of built that craft as he started understanding coverages more and things like that. And certainly as he gets more comfortable in our offense, you can really see the plays when it's like, okay, he really understands this concept. This is a grooved play for him, and he's making decisions really, really quickly. And he's making decisions quickly, and he's getting the ball to the right people. So I think as a young player, when you see that, you're like, wow, this guy's really got a chance, and then you pair together an elite skill set physically that he has, his God-given ability. And that's where magic happens for guys, and you put that with his disposition as a guy, very calm player, especially for a guy trying to pick up, I don't want to say complex, but I would say at least a system that's going to take a little bit for most guys to get down, and he is absolutely hunkered in and is not intimidated by the process at all. So it's been really impressive to see. So I think, for him, it starts with the vision, because there's guys that you can get, you continue to improve and make them better, and they can understand things, from a more strategic standpoint. But, if they can't see it, I've worked with guys that they can draw it up for you, they can talk the talk, and then they get out there and you snap the leather to them and they just can't see it. And it just doesn't happen fast for him. And for Keelon, he is able to put those things together very quickly. He can drive the ball to all the corners of the field. He's got a great tight release. The ball can push through wind and all that. He's got a high spin rate, super efficient with his upper half. Like, he can get the ball out of his hand fast and make quick decisions. We're still working on engaging his lower half to generate a little bit more power. He's still got tons to work on, just like all these guys do. But yeah, really, really excited. I think sky's the limit for him.
I'd love to ask you about Austin Mack. I don't want to leave him out. And certainly he's a guy that you're very familiar with because you've got a relationship with him.
Yeah, Austin is, first of all, he's just a really big guy. He's 6'6.5", or right at 6'6", and 235, and still can run and move around. If you're walking out on the field and you're watching all the guys throw, you'd be looking at Austin, and he's probably your best pure thrower. Just power and tempo of the football and where he can put it and touch. He is a pure thrower of the ball. He's just like Keelon, still developing as a decision maker and still, getting command of the offense. And certainly the reps that he's been able to get this spring and even this summer already is, really what he didn't have his first 2 years, because he just wasn't in a position to be either the backup or, in a competitive role for the starting position. So now all the coaching and reps that he's getting, I feel like he's growing every week. But I think he's more mobile than people think. He's extremely intelligent, and for Austin, he probably picks stuff up as fast, if not faster, than anybody in the room. Very, very smart kid. Now it's just like letting the game slow down for him, letting him make the easy plays look easy. Because when he's on and he's pushing the ball where it's supposed to go, I told him, and I mean it, he looks like, if you went out to an NFL game and you watch some guys throw before a game, you're like, that's what they look like, and that's how Austin is. So we got to get to the other part all rectified as far as decision making and things like that. But he's an incredibly talented kid.
How important is it, and I promise final two question here, visiting with Ron Grubb, you got a great secondary that you're going up against in practice. I mean, some would even say it's one of the better ones in college football. Pro Football Focus, I think, had it number 2. But your wide receivers, your offense, when you're trying to groom everything to go up against that type of iron sharpen iron, Kane Womack swarm defense over there that's going to put pressure on you guys, how important is that?
I'll tell you what, I'm thankful for it. I really, really am. It's a big cliche, but those guys, Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown, all these guys, Dijon Lee is a young guy, like that is exactly what we need to go against every day. Because it reminds our guys, we have a talented receiving core, the type of players that they're going to have to beat, every week in the SEC and to compete for a national championship. So I think it keeps us hungry, because there's certainly days where we come out and can get the better of the defense, and there's days where we come out and the guys get humbled. And that's something that I think is part of the process. So not only do I think Keem's got really good players over there, and Mo and Jay Jones do such an incredible job in the back half. They're well coached, they're smart, and they're really, really talented. So it's fun. It is. And I know the guys appreciate the competition both ways.
We had Hugh Millen on 2 weeks ago, and he gave us a 45-minute lesson on your offense and DeBoer's offense. What'd you learn about yourself and in the NFL when you take your system and you go up against the elite of the elite, and you get a chance to go, these things, these concepts, this philosophical, it works, but I got to tweak it. What'd you learn from a schematic standpoint in the NFL?
Well, I think, the one thing we saw was we still can throw the ball. We're top 5 in the NFL throwing the football. I think it still shows you that if you don't have the right mix of run pass, that you'll struggle to win the big games and the big moments. So those are some things that, we weren't where we wanted to be running the football. And we need to continue to improve on that. And so I think, it's always a good reminder that, the same things in college and NFL apply, where, balance and creativity have to meet each other each week and find ways to, be creative in the run scheme, as creative as you are in the pass game. And then, for me, it was great just, honing in on some of the protections. That there's some things that are a little bit more complex as far as in the NFL part, is pressure packages and things like that. But we had the same system and had to come up with the same answers. It was just a little bit, the breadth was a little bit more. But for us, I'd say some of the things that we learned was there's an efficiency to our pass game, challenging nature to it. There's complexity that every week people, struggle to guard. And so for us, there's, sometimes you learn, like, some of the things you're doing are really good and we should keep doing those. And, some of the things you learn that, like, hey, when you're against elite defenses, these are the things that are not going to be as good. And I would say those are a couple of things. And then just adjusting to defensive personnel, and how to isolate some of those things in the NFL and certain people on the field. There's only certain concepts you can do because of the type of the people that they have out there. So I think honing into that a little bit more on the offensive side and collegiate level as people change defensive personnel is having a really good bearing on that and understanding how we can utilize that as a weapon.
Ron Grubb, thank you for the opportunity. I've enjoyed this. I looked up the clock and I didn't realize I'd went a couple of minutes over. I apologize for going a couple of minutes.
You're all good.
Okay.
All good.
Hey, well, I enjoyed it. Hopefully we can catch up, but I think you've got the Alabama fans excited. And, hey, we're only 79 days away from Alabama, Florida State. So it'll be here before.
I can't wait.
Thank you again for the opportunity.
Can't wait. Roll Tide.
Right back to you. Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator from the University of